All right, Christine, thank you so much for joining me today.
You're very welcome, Jessica.
So, kick us off by telling me your name, your company, and your position there.
All right. My name is Christine Stio, and I am the founder and CEO of Buzzado's Delivery. It is, you know, from work. I'm building it from the ground up. Um, Single woman owned business and just authentic connections in the community, trying to get licensed to the state of New York. I do have a website. However, it is not launched yet just because some barriers with getting payment processing set up and then waiting on my license through New York State to be able to retail e-commerce, website for the CBD products. So I'm
Hmm.
still waiting on that to go official, just because I would love to someday be licensed for adult rec cannabis. I really want to make sure I do things the right way.
Yeah, absolutely. And we will dive into that because New York is a emerging market. Things are not set in stone yet, and there's a lot to navigate there. But
Definitely.
before we dive into all that, tell me about the idea behind Buzzadoos.
All right. So over the summer, my son, who's autistic, we were working on several things with him. And one of the pieces that we were working on was helping him with his anxiety. We felt like he would really benefit from like a therapy pet. So we went and we were thinking a dog, and then we found a cat, and this kitten was named Buzz. So the kitten named Buzz came to live with us in June, and then my son one day was the gentleman that was helping me with my branding. He's like, Christine, before you name your new business, he's like, you really need to think of something completely unique and different. He's like, everybody has the word, you know, canna in their business names. A lot of people do. He's like, and you don't know if it's going to be allowed. New York State might set parameters that say we can't have the word ganja or any kind of cannabis, and who knows, right? So he's like,
Hmm.
so just think of it this way. So I'm like, yeah, something unique. Okay. So I started writing down ideas. And then one day, Aiden was playing with our kitten. And this was like in June of this past summer of 2021. And he's like, Buzzy, Buzz. And then he's like, Buzzadoo. And I don't know how, like it just clicked in my head. And I was like, Buzzadoo's Delivery. We bring the buzz to you. So that name was born from our beautiful boy, Buzz. And it just fits because my son Aiden, who's extremely creative, he's just kind of like helped me with a lot of different things with ideas and creativity. And it's like we had started working with Dr. Leah Johnson last summer on his behalf too. So we had the therapy pet Buzz, and then we had him who started with his low doses of THC and high doses of CBD. And I feel like, the flow and the creativity and the ideas they were happening. So I always knew I wanted to work in cannabis, though, just to give you like, it wasn't just born last summer. It was
Hmm.
something I've always wanted to do.
So, what has your personal journey been like with cannabis?
It's been amazing. I gotta say, I started young. I mean, as many people do in their teens, just kind of experimenting with different things. And when I tried cannabis, it just felt different to me. It didn't feel like, when you drank, it didn't weigh me down. It actually lifted my spirit and it made me feel better. And it was weird because I was so young and I didn't understand that it had medicinal properties and value at that point in my life. But I knew it made me feel better. And I'm like, wow, this makes me feel amazing. I understand things so much clearer. I can be a lot more creative, and my thought process is very deep and real with cannabis. And the one thing I created this quote to help explain that phenomenon, and it's cannabis removes the veil to reveal the truth. So, in my opinion, cannabis helps you to get rid of all those prior notions, right? Like all those like judgments and stigmas that we carry with us that we don't even know we're being brainwashed with all our lives. And when you when I, not you, because like it's not everybody's experience is so different, but when I consume cannabis, it helps remove that veil. So I could see my truth. I could see, wait, this isn't true. That people are, in the way we are in this world, you could just kind of understand it better and see people. And you could see, oh gosh, I would remember meeting people. I'm like, gosh, I could feel their anxiety or I could feel their fear. And it would give me a lot more sympathy towards them. And next thing you know, I'm like getting along great with them. And people are like, oh, that person's not nice to anybody. I'm like, well, I could see it wasn't that they didn't want to get along with people. They have all this stuff going on. So I'm like, it helped me communicate better with people, feel better in general. And now I can't talk enough about it. It's like, like that
Mhm.
sign, I think Brett put it up, warning, warning, may talk like, what is that, like spontaneously discusses all things cannabis. It's
Mhm.
me because I really believe in it 100%.
So you have your use and your personal journey, but you also have the journey that your son is on with his cannabis use as well. And you mentioned that he's on a low THC, high CBD dose.
Yes. So about 5 years ago, I decided to try CBD for all of us because I had read so many wonderful things about the use of CBD in kids who are autistic. It's
Hmm.
like, about 5 years ago, his hormones were starting to fluctuate a lot. So I was like,
Hmm.
let's give this a try. And I noticed right away, it really helped. It helped all of us. And you know, the most important thing is consistency. So we took it every day
Hmm.
around the same time, and I felt like it was really helping. And then this past year, his 16th year, he really became extremely anxious. His
Hmm.
anxiety went from, you know, anxiety he could kind of work with strategies and coping mechanisms to debilitating. He was having
Hmm.
like up to 5 panic attacks a day. He wouldn't leave his bedroom, getting him to like even go to a common doctor appointment or a family dinner with my parents or his grandparents was really hard. He
Hmm.
couldn't do it. So, um, so I was listening to Honey Wall Smith podcast last summer.
Hmm.
I think I want to say it was early June, and she had on Dr. Leah Johnson, who's a cannabis pharmacist she lives in California. And it was like all about how low doses of THC and higher doses of CBD can help patients who are autistic, especially with their anxiety. And she, went into a lot of detail about it and the different things that really were making sense to me. And I was like, oh my gosh, I'm like, this was like a miracle that I heard this podcast because I was like, it was getting to a point where I didn't know what to do for
Hmm.
his anxiety. We tried obviously counseling. I had bringing him to the developmental pediatrician. I even asked the developmental pediatrician, can we try some low dose THC? Like, what do you recommend? And were not allowed to at that point to discuss CBD or THC products with us. And so I was just like literally praying and worrying and wondering what are we going to do? And then I listened to the podcast. So I was like, you know what? I'm going to reach out to Dr. Leah Johnson and just give it a try.
Hmm.
So I texted her or messaged her because Honey put all her information on the podcast. I reached out to her and she's so amazing. She's so responsive. She got right back to me. And we had a nice conversation. I explained the whole situation to her. She looked at Aiden's whole like medical history, all the medications he was currently on, because her being a pharmacist, she understands all the nuances
Yeah.
of interactions between, CBD, THC, and all the other meds he's on.
Hmm.
So it was amazing. She went through everything with me, very thorough. So we started off, I had to get my medical card on his behalf.
Hmm.
And that was a gift to me as well because it helped me to access medicine on my behalf later. Because, like, I was like, wait a minute, I can help myself too, you know?
Hmm. Yeah.
So, and then she educated us, and we tried like a variety of different types of cannabis for him. We initially had started with a pill, a cannabis pill, and it was very expensive. So
Hmm.
I was paying about $100 a week. to, yeah, to, have him taking this low dose THC, but it was in the form of a pill. So then we found chocolate and we tried the chocolate, and he, of course, loved the chocolate.
Uh-huh.
And we found even a better cost product, which were the gummies, the 5 milligram gummies.
Hmm.
And those worked great. And the cost was, a lot more affordable. And the gummies would last him a while because he took a 5 milligram um, and we cut it into fourths. And he only took one fourth 3 times a day. So the
Hmm.
gummies lasted a while. So it was, amazing to me because here's this child who was having up to 5 panic attacks a day, Joss. He wouldn't leave his room.
Hmm.
Next thing you know, this low dose THC combined with a high dose of CBD, he was having zero panic attacks. And there were some episodes of like higher anxiety. He would tell me, he's like, Mom, my chest hurts. But the strategies that we would put into place for him with his counseling and the different, things that we had in our toolbox, combined with that, he could work through it. He could reset his, system and
Hmm.
just push forward. So it was like amazing. And he's still on it. We're still like, we're very good about, the times of day we take everything and just that consistency again.
Hmm.
But it's been wonderful for him, and I highly recommend anyone to reach out to Dr. Leah Johnson. Like she's an expert with children who are autistic, or anybody who's autistic, with the use and other medical conditions with
Hmm.
THC.
Yeah, it's incredible to see some of this emerging science of what cannabis can do for neurodivergent brains.
Amen. It's amazing in general, like what it can do for any of us. Any of us, like
Yeah.
it's not for everybody, just like any
Hmm.
medication, everybody's different. But I tell people, even if you don't enjoy the feeling of being high and you don't want it recreationally, you can microdose it so your body is gaining those benefits and you don't feel lifted. You're just, normal, or just maybe a little more relaxed, but you're not gonna, you'll be able to move about your day. And that's what I do during the
Hmm.
day. I can't macro dose and do everything I
Yeah.
do, right? It's
Yeah, you don't have to get high to benefit from cannabis.
amen. Exactly. And it works wonders with our body. Our bodies were meant to receive plant-based medicine.
Yes, they
And
were.
that's why I feel like it's such a gift for all of us to be able to access it, to talk about it, to learn about it, because it was grown here and it was grown with a purpose, for the people that live here. And not only is it for, healing for us, but it's so healing for the earth.
Hmm.
I don't know if you follow a gentleman, and he would be wonderful to interview. His name is Paul J. von Hartman.
Hmm.
He's a cannabis scholar, and
Okay.
he teaches people how cannabis is essential. And it is. It's essential to our human body. It's got everything we need to survive, all the nutrients we need, but it's essential to the earth.
Yeah.
And the terpenes are shown to be able to heal the oh my god, my brain, the UVB rays and the atmosphere. Thank you, the atmosphere. So the UVB and all of that, when the terpenes go up into the atmosphere, it actually heals that. So that way, the UVB rays aren't coming down to the earth as strongly, and that's what's really harming so much of our earth. The desertification,
Hmm.
the high rate of skin cancer. The UVB is, he calls it the UV broil, the broil effect. But definitely read up on Paul. Yeah, he is. Paul von Hartman is brilliant, but it's important for all of us.
Hmm. Absolutely. I mean, not to mention the carbon sequestering effects, the amount of things it can be turned into,
Yes,
paper, concrete,
yes,
insulation. I mean,
clothing.
yes. Yeah, absolutely. It's an incredible plant.
It is.
So, right now you are in the cannabis industry, but being in New York, you're still in the thick of the licensing process. We're still waiting for a lot of things to be determined for you. So, what has your experience been like?
It's been interesting for sure. Like
Hmm.
I have, I've always been a person who perseveres and keeps moving forward, and I'm a positive spirit, like, so I don't give up easily. However, it's definitely, there's a lot of hurdles out there in order to have access to this industry. It's very capital reliant. You
Mm-hmm.
definitely can't be without a lot of money in the bank. And so a person in my situation, I'm a single parent. I don't receive any child support. So it's like a lot of hurdles
Mm-hmm.
financially. I'm blessed to have like I'm an educator by trade, so I'm a teacher.
Mm-hmm.
So I've been teaching since 1998. So I understand how to gain resources, how to reach out to people and say, hey, I heard about the incubator, or I have questions about this, or how to write a business plan, what lawyers to talk to, or different professionals to connect with and network with. So
Mm-hmm.
that part, I feel blessed. I have that piece in me, that teacher and that educator that knows, okay, don't give up, keep reaching out, keep asking questions. um, but it's been, a blessing too. I've met some of the most amazing people by jumping into this industry and
Mm-hmm.
saying, I'm 50 years old. I've been trying to enlighten people my whole life. And, I'm finally in this industry where this is where my heart and soul is, plant-based medicine, and just bringing people together, educating them about the things we should have all known our whole lives growing up, getting rid of that stigma, just, being able to educate people about all the benefits. Like we said, whether they want it recreational or not, it
Mm-hmm.
still benefits you. And it just, opening your mind to those possibilities. So I feel blessed to, even though I'm not really like earning an income from the industry yet, it's not about that for me. Like when I was interviewed, gosh, I was interviewed by Channel 8,
Mm-hmm.
and they were like, oh, where do you see Buzzado's delivery in like 5 years? And I feel like the question was more like, oh, I'm going to be in Albany, Syracuse, Buffalo. And that's not my goal. My goal is to
Mm-hmm.
help people. My goal is to help people, even if it's on a small level, because when I help, one or two people, those one or two people will then therefore go and help one or two people, and maybe five people. And then those people will help others. So for me, it's about getting the message out to people, helping them realize, hey, this can be a help. This is good for all of us. It's good for the earth. And, we should all embrace this. And I feel very like blessed to be alive right now. Like, all these years
Mm-hmm.
I said it should be legal. It grew from the earth, grows from the earth. And I believe a higher being put it there for us to help us, just like a kind of like a survival tool, to
Mm-hmm.
help us to survive and help us to feel better. And so much of that Western medication, in my opinion, the way it makes me feel, the way I've seen it make my family feel, so many side effects,
Mm-hmm.
and makes you just feel like not yourself. You can't
Yeah.
function the way you would function on cannabis or a plant-based medication.
Yeah, you could argue that it dampens your spirit.
Amen. It does. And then when you try to get off of those types of medicines, like you feel sick and you
Yeah.
just feel just feel weird.
Yeah,
So
absolutely. And I think there's something to be said for having a focus on your community and helping the people who are your neighbors, who have kids in your kids' schools, who you see on a regular basis. It's not always about scaling and making millions of dollars.
right, exactly, Jess. I agree. I love like when I get to help somebody and like talk to them because they have questions. It makes me feel so happy because I'm like, and they're like, thank you so much. I'm like, anytime you have a question,
Mhm.
wonder about something you got from a dispensary, give me a call because I can answer your questions anytime.
So, New York recently released their first 52 conditional THC growing licenses. So, the market is moving forward, albeit a little bit slowly. So, where is a license like yours, which I know is an e-commerce, retail, and I believe transport? Where is that status right now? Can you tell me a little bit about that?
That's a great question, Jessica. I believe, the regulations for delivery have not been released yet. I believe that obviously their focus has to be on cultivating,
Hmm.
processing, and retail. So the dispensaries will be the ones to open before delivery launches. So
Hmm.
it makes sense. You've got to kind of have a succession of, um, priority, right? You got a scale in that priority need. You have to say, okay, well, we have to have the cultivators
Yeah.
because without product, what are we going to do, right? And we
Nothing to
want to,
deliver.
exactly. So we got the product going, we got the processing going to create all the cool edibles and, cartridges and the different things the processors will help us with. And then retail are going to be opening up. I'm excited to see the regs. I'm really want because I'm still like, I'm questioning for myself in my situation, doing a delivery model. Like I feel like it would be really beneficial to do like a micro business with a team or
Hmm.
do like a co-op. But co-ops, I believe, are just for cultivators. So I know there's been talks about other like co-op license types, like where people
Hmm.
of other like a variety of different licensures could get together. So, I'm just kind of waiting and seeing if this makes sense for me at this point. I'm still waiting on my CBD license to come through so I can launch Buzzadoos because I
Hmm.
had already partnered with companies like Beacon Skiff and Tonic and different companies, Bad Days,
Hmm.
to be able to sell their CBD products on my e-commerce platform. However, going through the process to gain banking in Buzzadoo's delivery name and my business name for the e-commerce was quite the hurdle. It took me about
Hmm.
4 months, but I finally got it approved, so I was so excited. And I highly recommend the bank I did go through. It's called Sound Community Bank, and Sound Community Bank is in Oregon. And I have a contact person if anybody's interested to reach out to me. That's fine. You can reach me on LinkedIn or Instagram too. And I even have a page on Facebook. But man, I'm telling you, Facebook, it gives you. You're
Oh,
lucky if you get 5 views of your
yep.
post.
They hate weed. They hate weed more than Instagram does.
They do. So, it's like, but I know how hard it is to get banking. And then I finally got the banking and I had to get payment processing for the credit
Mhm.
cards. And was very close to getting that. But I put it on pause because I'm like, I can't launch my website in good faith knowing I don't have my license yet for CBD because I don't want the state to think, oh, she's just gonna ignore what she needs to do. So I'm
Mhm.
like, you know what? I told everybody. So Sound CBD is not charging me any fees. They're like pretty much like holding my account because I have a tiny little bit of money in there, and they're like, we're not going to charge you any kind of fees until you're actually up and running. And then the payment processing said the same. They're like, we're not going to officially do this yet. I told them like we have to wait because I want my license first.
Yeah.
So one thing at a time, and just continuing to persevere and push forward. And I've got a lot going on because I'm a single parent. So my
Mhm.
son Jordan just got accepted into well he's been getting accepted all year, but we finally made his college decision. And then Aiden needs a lot of support being autistic. So
Mhm.
I've got a lot of juggling going on in my life.
Yeah.
So, and then, just trying to pay bills post COVID, it's been really a challenge. I know
Yeah.
for all of us, a lot of people are feeling it and the prices of everything
Yeah.
going through the roof. So it's like you're just trying to put one foot in front of the other.
Yep. Every day. Do you have a timeline or an idea of when you should hear back on your CBD license, or is it just with the state till whenever?
Pretty much till whenever I did reach out to them, as I applied for that in January. I reached out to them probably about 4 weeks ago, and they said, we're working diligently. And I think with everything they're doing, with the adult rec program,
Hmm.
it's easy to probably just push this stuff aside. So I'm hoping soon. I'm just going to keep reaching out and
Yeah.
asking and calling and emailing. And you know how they say the squeaky wheel usually gets the grease, or
That it does.
they get annoyed with me. But hopefully that should be soon, so that way Buzzadoos .com could launch because
Hmm.
it's and I've been, like I said, I've been blessed. The gentleman that did my branding and website, his name is Chris Masad. He runs a marketing business called Toro and Hair Graphic
Hmm.
Design, and his graphic design, like the Buzzadoos logo, I just couldn't be happier with it.
Hmm.
I just love it. It's so deep. I love artistic work, and a lot of people I feel like in our industry love art. Art's another expression of our souls, and so like my to look at my logo and to say, wow, that's really for me. It looks like just a beautiful piece of art, and I could really see all the detail, and it really captures who I am. And
Hmm.
when they say like branding is really important, but branding is just really a piece of you. It's a part of who you are on paper, right? It's just like, okay, this is a representation of Christine and who she really is. And so he really embodied that in the design. So I felt like, wow, this is awesome.
That's great. So you and I connected last summer on LinkedIn because we were both getting into the industry around the same time. So I know you're not full time yet, but you've been paying very close attention to what's going on in New York. So as you're looking to the future of the New York market, what do you think? What do you see? What do you imagine?
Well, I really want New York to come through for social equity. Like I don't want social equity to be a buzzword because it's easy to throw these words around, but I always say actions speak louder than words.
Hmm.
Incubators are great, however, they don't fund people. What social equity applicants need is both. You need incubators, but you also need funding opportunities. And I know they had the funding opportunity for dispensaries, which is
Hmm.
amazing. The $200 million is important, but I'm hoping they follow through with all the other license types because there's so many here in New York State, which we're great. I'm grateful for that we have
Hmm.
that variety. Um, I just hopefully it will turn into like reality for a lot of people, especially people who are so passionate about this amazing plant. And but I am excited. I'm excited to see what's to come. I want to see like all my colleagues succeed. Several people I know got their provisional licenses for cultivating, so that was
Hmm.
exciting to me to see that. And I'm just like rooting, I'm cheerleading and standing behind them, and want to see that success. And so
Hmm.
supporting each other, moving forward together when things don't seem quite right, having people call it out and like kind of like the can of BS detector,
Yeah.
those
Yeah.
that role is important because we need to stand together and say, hey, when something isn't right, or it's infringing on others, you know, human rights,
Hmm.
to say that's not correct or that's not the right way in New York State. We don't want to do that. But we have a lot of great advocates here in our state. And I feel like with the advocacy and the people speaking out on our behalf, like NYC GPA and
Yeah.
different associations, I feel like we've got a really great group of really intelligent, brilliant people that are speaking up for this industry and want to see it go the right way.
Yeah, I'd have to agree with that. I think that New York is one of the few markets that I've seen that's actively trying to learn from the mistakes of other people instead of just reinventing the wheel.
Exactly. And that gives me hope.
Yeah, absolutely. So you are just in the thick of all of this, getting your company set up, dealing with these regulations, really just trying to establish a business here. You've been doing this for about a year now. So what's next for you in the next year?
The next year, I'm just going to keep moving forward and just pushing through. I'm hoping to figure out, like, once the regulations come out for the rest of the license types, to say, okay, this is definitely deliveries. There's been several professionals I've been talking to that say delivery is going to be a great model. They believe in delivery, but I need to make sure it's going to work for me as a social equity
Yeah.
applicant and that I will have the sufficient funding opportunity in order to apply and to make it happen. So
Hmm.
I'm going into this industry. My heart and soul are already here. I'm not leaving anytime soon. I told, like I said, this is my end game. This
Hmm.
is where I see myself for the rest of my life. I'm 50 years old now, so I feel like this is my last gig where I could live the rest of my life talking about this plant and educating about this plant. And so no matter what capacity I'm able to do that in, I will still be doing it. So I'm just
Hmm.
going to see the next year how the regs look. how this industry is going, what opportunities there are for a person like me, and just keep educating myself and gaining opportunities because there's so much to learn. And I feel like LinkedIn has been the biggest gift of my life because I've met people that have helped Aiden. I've met people that have helped me and just educated me and helped me just really understand the whole picture, the whole, because it's like such a broad, right? If you step back from it and you look, you said, you look at all the other states going through their issues and like, just the whole thing. And I just feel blessed for this experience. I think that this next year I'll just continue to be blessed with this experience.
Yeah, absolutely. It is just crazy to be in the middle of, particularly in an emerging market like New York.
It
There's
is.
so much to keep up with.
There is so much to keep up with, and you hear something or you see something or you read something, and then you read something else, and then those things conflict. And I love it. I heard one time on listening to somebody's podcast, so a gentleman described the cannabis industry, that the cannabis industry is as clear as mud. So it's like nothing makes sense. We don't, like it's all murky. We have so many questions, and there's
Hmm.
questions upon the questions. So for me, like as long as I continue to focus on why I'm here, my purpose in this industry is to help others, to help heal the earth, to help heal people,
Hmm.
and the human spirit, come together with people, because we are way more alike than we're different, and we all need healing. This world is not easy, right? I'm a single parent, 3 children. It's no easy life, not for anybody. We all have our crosses to bear. And so, like, why not have that access to plant based medicine?
Hmm.
Because it's like another amazing tool in our toolbox to be able to utilize so we could have a more fulfilling, fruitful life. If you have the correct medication, that's not going to, that's raising your spirit, raising your intelligence, helping you connect to people and other humans. It's like, wow, well, what do why not? Like, we need
Yeah,
to just continue to push that forward.
absolutely, we do.
I'm sorry. I hope, this is my computer. There it go. Oh no. Can you still see me?
Yep.
Okay, my computer decided to do an update.
Oh no.
Understand. I'm like, what the heck? Here, there you are.
Why right now? Yeah, nope, you were good. Did not have any interruption there. So, what is your personal favorite way to consume cannabis?
It's I love a different variety. I've been like learning and experimenting with different varieties. But for the convenience, I guess I would just say the vape cartridge, just having that cart right there.
Hmm.
Different varieties, whether it's sativa, and I know we don't talk about sativa and all that stuff, but like whatever the terpenes are that are helping me stay awake, the limonene or the pine, the
Hmm.
pinene or whatever.
Yep.
It just I have different varieties of different carts. So going to those and having because Aiden's very sensitive to smell. So I
Hmm.
love real flower, but I can't consume it in my home because he hates the smell.
Hmm.
So I can't, I'll have to go outside, but sometimes the weather in upstate New York doesn't quite allow for consuming it relax with the blizzard going past or rain
Right,
pouring in
it's
the
like
face.
pouring rain right now as you're saying
Yeah.
this.
Like I definitely have learned that when I do consume real flower, I enjoy like using a bong
Hmm.
because a bong delivers a really smooth, like it's not harsh. And then the way it makes me feel versus a bowl is better. It's a weird phenomenon for me because I'm a lightweight. Like it doesn't
Hmm.
take much cannabis for me to feel the effect. And so, you would think, gosh, she wouldn't need a bong, but it actually, the high is for me is better, but that's a macrodose situation.
Hmm.
Microdose situation, I love my gummies. So I take a 5 milligram gummy, just like Aiden, and I cut it into fourths. And I take it as needed. So some days I need 2 little bits. Some days I need 3. Some days I need 5 or 6 through the day.
Hmm.
And, and sometimes I like use a little bit of my vape cart that's more of a like an energetic. flower
Hmm.
and or a hybrid, and I will just use that like sparingly through the day. But it's good. It's I
It's
love
nice
it.
to have variety. It's nice to have
It's
options.
I love variety too. Yeah, it's good to have options. It's good to know and experiment too, especially being in this industry. I feel like it's good for us to try different products, be able to educate people
Hmm.
about how it might make them feel. Everybody's system is so different.
Hmm.
So, like, what works for me, because, my endocannabinoid system is different than yours or somebody
Yep.
else's, it might make you feel different. So, it's really, and I love to hear back from people. I'm like, oh, how, did you try that? How did that make you feel? Oh, well, it made me feel this way. Or, oh,
Hmm.
this is the same thing we both felt. So, learning, I feel like learning is limitless, endless, and just keep learning, right? Keep learning and
Yeah.
growing together.
Yeah, especially in this industry when, like you said, everybody's endocannabinoid system is unique. We don't know how things are going to make people feel just because they make us feel one way. So finding those commonalities and those differences is really interesting.
It is. It really is. Like our friend Cody and our friend Maya B. Shields, like I feel like the education, right, on
Oh,
LinkedIn
it's
is
wonderful.
priceless. Yeah. I'm like, you could stay on there for hours. And that's like part of my problem being a single parent. I have to balance my life. And so
Hmm.
I call it flow state. I have to go with my flow. Some days I can't be on there at all because I've got so much going on in my personal life. So
Hmm.
it's like a balancing act. But every time I go on, I'm like, what? I love this. I love this community. Like I feel so happy and grateful that I'd met, like I said to Honey, I'm like, yeah, I met my tribe on LinkedIn. I never would have thought. And then LinkedIn is how I met all my Rochester people.
Yes.
That's the best part.
Yeah, I have been just astounded by the strength of the LinkedIn community
Yeah,
in cannabis. I mean, it's LinkedIn. You wouldn't think you'd find a cannabis community on there.
right, right. And I'm just so grateful for it that we have a place that we could learn and be free to discuss really critical issues.
Yeah. Yeah. And not be censored or taken down or have your reach reduced.
Right, exactly.
Yeah, absolutely. Christine, this has been wonderful. I just have one more question for you.
Sure thing, Jess.
What is your favorite fun fact about cannabis?
My favorite fun fact. Gosh. Really don't know. I mean, I nothing's coming to mind right now. I'm like, favorite fun fact. Oh, okay. This is good for women my age. Okay, so did you know cannabis reduces your metabolic body temperature? So women my age, we get hot flashes. They just kind of happen.
Hmm.
And some people suffer from hot flashes worse than others, but because it reduces your metabolic body temperature when you consume cannabis, it squashes your hot flashes. So I was noticing as I was taking my microdoses more regularly. So not with macro. So with
Hmm.
macro, because you're not taking it, you're not doing a macrodose every day. Well, some people do. I mean, but for me personally,
Yeah.
anyway, but once I started consuming daily, then I noticed, wow. And I would notice one would start coming on. I would take ahead of my vape, my
Hmm.
cart. So you need like not the gummies help, but like you need like more of immediate,
Hmm.
tool. So like the vape cart and take a little hit. I'm like, okay. And then another, I'm like, it's gone. I'm like my hot flash is gone. Okay. So, and I looked it up and it is true. And I always did notice, certain different types of flower could make me actually cold, like depending on what type of flower it is, like what strain it is, what terpenes are in there. It
Hmm.
could actually make me shivering cold, and yeah, very interesting. So,
I didn't
and
know
then most
that.
and most forms of cannabis wake me up, which
Hmm.
is a weird thing for me. It's not true for obviously everybody, but when I consume cannabis, I don't feel sleepy. I feel alert and awake. Some varieties obviously more than others,
Hmm.
but even the kind that's supposed to make you sleepier um, actually wake me up, and I have to be careful what time I consume a macrodose because
Hmm.
it'll keep me awake. Like I can't do a macrodose at 8 o'clock on a Wednesday night if I want to go to bed at a decent hour.
Hmm.
Otherwise I'll be up like thinking, and my creativity gets, all kinds of ways, which is, it's not a bad thing, but when you need sleep.
Yeah. Yeah. It's the beauty and frustration of having a unique endocannabinoid system. It's all trial and error.
Yes. Yes.
Yes. I did not know that. Thank you. That was fascinating. Well, wonderful. I really appreciate you sitting down, sharing some of your knowledge with me. It was so great to chat with you today.
Wonderful to chat with you, Jess. I looking forward to when I see you again at a cannabis event
Yeah,
in Rochester or elsewhere. I know you're going away to one, right?
I am. I'm headed to DC later this week for the National Cannabis Festival. I'm super
Have
excited.
Yes, have an amazing time.
Thank you. I'll take a bong hit for you.
Yes, please do, please do, and thank you for everything you do in this community. I appreciate it. Take care, Jess.